see you. When you're as tall as a Sasquatch, they're going to see you either way. But for a lot of you guys that don't know, I know some of the original members know, this club was actually started with those two and myself. Billy called me up one day, went over to the house, and they said, hey, we want to put together a fishing club down on the South Shore. And sitting there, we figured out a name in less than 5 minutes. We had a huge banquet, our very first meeting. This September will be 5 years. So we've been doing this for 5 years now, and it's just exploded from there on. Six years.
No. 70,000.
Yeah, a little over 70,000 we put back into the community doing it in every single one of our tournaments. And it's all local charities. We're not doing any big corporations, none of that craziness. So with no further ado, the boys from the Real Animals Fishing Show, Captain Mike Anderson and Billy Nobles.
First of all, I'm not that small, he's that big.
The applause need to go to the Hoffmans and
Yeah.
all of you for getting involved. Sitting around drinking beers, coming up with that idea is easy. To do everything that it takes to get this going that the Hoffmans have done, Steve with your gift of gab, and
Everybody laughs when somebody says that.
Tiger organizing the whole thing, we really didn't have a whole lot to do with it, so the applause go to you guys for what you guys have done in the community.
I think it was just 3 in a bottle of rum, wasn't it, Tiger?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
And
Fix a lot of the world's problems if we just had that.
Yeah.
if we could only get to DC, man, fix it all.
I got too many skeletons in my closet, JJ.
But now we get to hang out with the guys like the Hoffmans, you guys, boys from Mahoney's. I mean, it's just been, we've really truly been blessed. It's not that we did anything special. I don't know why God just reached out and blessed two dumb rednecks. We just thank him every day for it, you know. Wasn't nothing that we did special. But anyway, you guys got the trout tournament coming up Saturday. So what do I can tell you this about the trout Saturday. It's going to take a big one. Because there's a lot of big trout around.
It's the biggest trout year I've ever seen. I've never seen trout like this.
Yep.
It's better than it was last year, and you're right, last year was really good, and this year I've never seen fish like I've seen this year.
Have you got that picture on your phone with you?
No, I looked for it, I was gonna.
He's got one. Hold your hands up.
It's a pretty big fish.
See that hand? That fish you saw, hold your hands up again.
Was that the
The
one on your
fat,
Facebook?
he's holding the fish like this, and fat was hanging off the sides, down in between. I mean, it was just a monster. It had to be at least 29 inches.
I've seen the
Minimum.
biggest trout on Tampa Bay that I've ever seen this year. And I've seen numbers of them, which is, you know, to see one here and one there is one thing, but to go down a shoreline and see 25 or 30 fish where you're just blown away, you gotta look twice to see if there's snook. It's unbelievable. So, good luck. Fish big. Go big. We have a question.
Where would you go?
Where was that picture taken? Let's beat around the bush for a little bit, guys.
To be perfectly honest with you, and I know, Mike, you're a big...
What do you ask?
Where would you go?
Where would you go?
Yeah, I know you're a big...
What area?
I know
20
you're...
feet beside his boat.
I know that you're a big spot guy, but this is the God's honest truth. All of the guys who are fishing for, we've got a company called 866 Game Fishing. All of the 866 Game Fish guys are saying the same thing. Whether they're fishing Weeden Island, Mike Gore, they have been catching massive trout over by Weeden Island.
Right in that little lake over there.
I'm fishing Fort
There's a lot in that
Fort
lake.
DeSoto. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fish. There's a lot of fish over there. I haven't fished cockroach at all, so I don't know how they are here. But I know some of the boys that regular this shoreline have been hunkered down. Joe's Island, Bishop's Harbor, areas that have traditionally held big fish.
And they're holding it in the same places down that way, like in that 5-6 foot of water, out on the outside of the bar, out on that live bottom where that grass and all is at.
How long is the tournament? Till 3?
Till 3.
As soon as that sun gets up, I try and get as skinny as you can get. Them big fish are gonna climb on something to try to get warm Saturday. That's where I'd be. If you wanna win it, you can go probably get in a hole somewhere and catch 18 to 22, 23, 24 inch fish.
Well, that big 20,
I'd
that
be
big
shocked
30
if
inches will be
if
skinny.
that wins it, I'd be shocked.
I think it's going to take 28 to 29 to win it.
It's a big fish year. Yes, sir.
Go-to baits, top 3. What do I need to have on the
shelf tomorrow for everybody?
It's not an artificial tournament, right?
Yeah.
It can do anything.
Anything.
But it's gonna be, we're gonna say artificial.
I'd have those,
Artificial.
I'd have those new,
Cast net.
I'd have those new, DuPont's red and, black spinner baits. You know the ones I'm talking about?
I think so.
Yeah, the ones you like, spin around, you hit 3 times and throw it. You like that? Yeah, for sure.
They've been eating big, really big white baits. I mean, that's been
Those
my,
KVD shads will work real well. Also, I think that Paul Brown will work. You got the Paul Browns there, don't you? Those things, that shallow water.
yeah. I would make sure I had some big white bait, but if you're gonna work some areas, this will be on the boat with me in the morning. You can go ahead and send it around. Be careful that hook, keeper on that rod's low. But that entire setup is at Mahoney's. That's the new smoke series from Quantum with the smoke rods. That's that KVD swimming caffeine shad, comes in some great colors. I actually set 3 bags out to bring tonight and forgot them. But they have a watermelon red that is really, really good, especially as clear as the water's probably gonna be, because it's so cold. I like white
I
chartreuse.
tell you, we shot a show right down here not too long ago with Terry Russo. We were wade fishing. Terry and myself, we're using live bait. Mike's throwing that right there and whipped both of us. If we took our catches and combined them, he caught more with that lure than Terry and I combined it.
No, he spoke highly of that lure before.
If
Yeah, that lure works really, really well.
You talking like a steady retrieve type thing or bouncing around?
Either way,
Yeah.
if you look at that bait, if you look at the normal shad lines of baits, the DOA Cal, even Strike King's got one, the Redfish Magic, that's about, that big, the glass minnow. They're a little shorter than that. And I think what happens with a hook, with a jig head like that I like a longer shank, because sometimes trout will short strike it. So where you get like a DOA jig head, a lot of them jig heads are very short shanked. The Strike King jig head's got a long shank on it. If you put that in a normal DOA Cal, you lose a lot of the wiggle. That bait is longer. If you look at that, you probably got an extra 1.5 inches on that bait. That gives you a lot more action. So a lot of times you can just steadily retrieve it. Here's what my perfect tactic would be for the day. If you know where the fish are that you're fishing, let's say you're either sight fishing them or you're fishing a shoreline that you already know is holding big trout, I would go live bait. If you are hoping to catch the fish and working an area, I would go artificial because you want to cover a lot of water. You want to find out if the big fish are in there and you need to cover water.
What would you start out with first thing in the morning? Would you start out with a top water or would you start out with a jig?
No, I would throw jigs probably.
Jigs all day?
I think it's going to be too cold first thing in the morning for a topwater bite. They're going to be a little lethargic. You better keep something in the water and right in front of them. And I wouldn't work it real fast. They're going to be lethargic even if it warms up as much as they say it's supposed to tomorrow. I would work it something slow in their face. They don't want to chase it too much. I wouldn't think.
Right down in the grass with it, huh?
And like I said, even in the morning, depending on what you know, if you're fishing an area you know is holding fish, I would put a live bait in the water. If you don't know whether or not it's holding fish, then throw artificials, work the area thoroughly, and then move on to the next area. So you don't waste a whole lot of time.
Would you have a mixed bag of white bait? Would you get like some pinfish, some big white bait, some shrimp as well, or?
If you get big white baits, and I mean big white baits, like that big, you're good. They're
He's been on one
eating
too.
huge baits.
I got a charter tomorrow inshore, that's why I'm asking all these questions.
I mean, I'll be doing, I got a charter tomorrow too. I know where they are, and I'll be throwing white baits in the morning. Yes, sir.
Just one more, are you chumming when you go up
No.
there? So
Don't-
it's a single bait
Don't
out
chum,
there?
single baits. Don't chum those fish. You want to remember that big trout are extremely smart. Extremely smart. I don't think throwing a bunch of chum on them fish is a way to go. Not if you want to catch a big one. You want to catch, if you're just shooting to catch a limit of 18, 19 inches and you can chum a hole where you're going to get those fish, but if you're fishing for one big money fish, I wouldn't chum it. Pitch one up in that hole and let it sit.
I think there are a lot of like big snook, when you pull up to a spot and you don't fish it, you just start to chum right at first, and you see that one big one just BAM! On one of the freebies you threw out, and you don't see him eat no more. So,
Yeah, I would not chum. Especially not with the size bait you need to to really win this tournament. It's gonna come off a 5-inch bait, I would think.
Yes,
With that call that just came through, where's the white bait gonna be?
the white bait's at the South Skyway Pier, thick. A buddy of mine went out there today through one time and had to dump half of it out.
There's a lot of bait at the bridge right
And there's a lot of mixed bait there too. I mean, you go to one section of it, you're gonna get the pinfish and the little grass grunts, and then you'll get white bait, and you'll get, I mean, it's a mixed bag of everything. And those big horse baits, those big horse-eye white baits that he's talking about are out there as well.
If you get there first thing in the morning and you know you're in big fish, like if you got a school of really big mullet and you know those fish are in there, I might even throw cut bait. I might even take one, cut the head off, cut the tail off, and chunk them.
Make that airplane wing.
I would think about it, because again, they don't have to chase it. It's gonna be really cold, put that stink in the water, let them swim up there and eat it. Don't do anything to it.
Stick it on the bottom.
No, I just let it get on the
Put
bottom.
it right on a jig head.
But the real key to that is, at least I find out with my clients, when I pitch in cut bait, I pitch it out, don't close your bail right away, let a little line come off the spool, close your bail, and don't reel.
Because if you reel, it gets buried up in that grass.
Pull
You
it
get
right
the
into the
grass
grass.
all over it, then you got to reel it in, clean it over, off, and start over.
Makes it harder to find. I tell my customers, I got it where I want it, don't touch it. Don't touch it until it moves.
Yeah, wait for it to lay over. Just stick it in the rod holder and wait for it to lay over.
And if you're gonna do that, I recommend that you use circle hooks. Gamakatsu's got some great new circle hooks out that I'm really, really liking. They're not as hard to use as.
You've been
as
saying
you
that, I'm
think.
gonna have to try some of
I've
those.
got a whole bunch, you can try some.
I'll have to
I'm
try
really happy with them, and when you're using cut
7
bait,
foot.
you really wanna go to a circle hook, cause they will, when they find it and zero in on it, they're gonna suck in a big gulp of water with that chunk of bait, and you don't want them to just try to take it down.
Yeah, and one thing with you guys are fishing for these big trout, please do me and these trout and our kids a favor. They're very delicate fish. They're not as hardy as a redfish where you can funnel them all over the deck, that stuff. Try and get them in the boat, take the picture as quick as you can, and get that fish back in the water. Matter of fact, Mark Nichols taught us that when you take that fish out of the water, if you will hold your breath, and when you need another breath of air, stick him in the water, whether he's on a boga grip or whatever, and let him get some air as well, because those big fish, they're really pretty special, and it takes a while to get that big fish. And like Michael was saying, they are very smart, and that's what we need in the gene pool.
That was one thing we were gonna talk about at the captain's meeting, is the fact that we want you guys to wet the measuring device. Wet
Yes.
that area, just take a towel, take an old bath towel or beach towel.
Wet it.
Soak it down, wet it, lay it on the deck, that way everything's wet, your hands are wet, everything's
Yeah.
wet. Take your picture that way, because you don't wanna get any of that slime coat off, you want it to be as wet
Right.
as possible.
Because I remember seeing an article years and years ago, a guy, he just barehanded a trout with a dry hand, and he just picked it up, and then they stuck it in an aquarium. And about 3 or 4 days later, you could see the fingerprint outline from it, where it had taken that slime off, and that in turn it opens him up to like all kinds of bacterial infections and everything else. Like I said, those big trout are pretty special. Because a 28, 29-inch trout is a definite trophy.
On this coast, that's a big fish.
What kind of cut bait? Well, Mike said, go ahead, Mike, you've been throwing the cut bait on.
Well, I mean, I've been using those big pilchers, the big white baits, just because that's what we've been targeting. I've been trying to get a whole live well full of those. So that'll work just fine if you get, cut mullet will work, cut ladyfish will work, threadfin herring will work, pinfish may work, especially if you're on a flat that's covered in pinfish. You can, butterfly a pinfish and put them out there, they'll get ate. Throw it out and let it lay. If you're having a problem with the birds, which we are having a massive problem down at Fort DeSoto with the birds.
Carry your 410 with you.
We got some
Sarasota Airport.
Exactly.
we're having some bad bird problems where those, we're fishing in such clean water, probably, 18 inches to 2 feet, and they're diving right in and picking your baits up. The problem with a piece of cut bait is it'll float a little bit. If you have to, then go to a jig head. The only thing you have to do then, I just recommend you be careful, because again, you don't have a circle hook. You gotta make sure you're paying attention, don't set it in the rod holder and walk away. Because of course, that's when you'll get bit, and you'll have to try to surgically remove that jig head from that massive trout. It's brutal.
Gonna
Just
take
pay attention. But, or, you know, maybe take a piece of split shot, put a little piece of split shot just up from the hook and to kind of speed its drop.
I'll tell you something to help you on that white bait too. When he cut it, Mike said cut the head off and the tail off. That midsection right here is what you're gonna wanna use. Hook it in the belly part. Now, if you look at my fingers like that, this will be the top where the dorsal is, and this is his belly. See how that's shaped like that? It's like an airplane wing. So when you throw it, it'll actually, I mean, you can cast that thing a country mile, it'll actually get lift. And I mean, you can make a real long cast. If you cut it like that and hook it like so, you'll get, I guess, what, extra 30, 40 feet out of it.
You're gonna hook it in the belly?
Hook it in the, yeah, hook it in the belly, cut you a piece about like that. Hook it in the belly, right in the center, in the belly part, that's the dorsal right here. And let it crank, and that thing, you'll get it way out, because it acts like an airplane wing. It actually gets lift on it. In fact, Rob Gordon taught us that. I said, dude, you're like the mad scientist in your house at night, as ugly as you are, you don't know where the girls are, so you got to play with bait fish.
Or you can make sure that you're good and spooled up. If you're trying to throw on a half a spool of braided line, you're gonna lose a ton of distance. It's really important to make sure you're spooled up. More questions? Yes, sir.
Just real quick, for these guys that can't run to the Skyway and get bait, we're doing good here in the South Shore with cut lady fish.
Are you? Yeah.
Circle hooks and either a worm slip anchor or a real small egg slip anchor.
Gotta work.
So when they pick it up, they don't feel, they
Yeah,
can grab it.
yeah. That's
Right,
a
just
good
sort of
tip.
like Carolina rigging it or something, or Texas rigging it.
But we'll just bump all the way down to the, you know,
To the
it doesn't
hooks.
hurt to put a bead there and once in a while, you know, get that clicking noise.
Right.
Almost like a knocker
But
rig.
we've been doing, I took, Mr. Mahoney and, Otis Brandon out there, he did really well.
Now, if they're,
I've been catching most of mine on the fly rod, but that's, you know, the bait.
well, that's what you do.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Captain
That's
Don,
it.
Thank you for those pictures. Appreciate it. I've got them. We're gonna do something with them.
Yes, sir.
I did it.
What's the best pound braid to throw for your long distance casting?
I think, for me, that's 10 that I have on there. To me, 10 works great if I'm gonna fish in the open water. I usually have 2 sets of rods on the boat. I have rods that I know, I like those, it's a real light tip. That's more of a trout rod. I've got redfish rods. I wouldn't wanna get on some of our big oversized breeder schools of redfish with those rods. It'd take my clients way too long to land that fish. You'll tire them out. There's a good chance they're gonna die. So, on those, where I'm trout fishing, I'm open water fishing, I like 10 pound. I always have some 15 pound on the boat for those big schools, for the docks.
Day
Where
in,
you know
day
you
out,
gotta put some heat on them.
day in, day out, all around, if you have one rod, I'd put 15 on it. If I just have one. If you're like, you know, like.
If you just have one, you need to go get one. I promise you, your wife has more than one pair of shoes, right? Exactly. There's the logic. Every time she buys a new pair of shoes, you get a new rod reel.
I like that.
Yeah, that's cool at my house. She gets a new purse, I get a new gun.
There you go. Yeah, you need to be playing with guns.
Pretty sure the country's in a fit because I get like this.
Sounds like a story.
More questions? Somebody questions?
Mike, did you want another beer? Mr. Hoffman just
No,
offered.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
That was an easy seminar, but
Hey, Mike, how do you like that new smoked rod and reel you bought?
I really like it. As a matter of fact, the big fish day I had, we caught about 14 or 15 fish. We didn't catch anything under 20 inches that day, and they all came on those really light rods. The guys had a blast on it.
Yeah.
Check that line out. That's that new vicious braid we've been using.
Uh-huh.
And it's cheaper than other braids, isn't it, Matthew?
It's also on sale. Buy one, get one free. Right there at the counter. No mail-in rebate, as well as your leader on it.
And it's, dude, I tell you what, we were using the Berkeley Ultracast before,
Uh-huh.
and I like this stuff just as much, if not better. Now, I think the tensile strength on this is a little stronger than, because it's been blowing up some of my reels or rods. They've been shattering. Yeah, shattering. So I'm liking them. I'm liking that line, it's really, really good
We
line.
took a little while with that, we got that stuff, I got a bunch of, Billy and I both got samples last year at ICAST in July. And they wanted us to sign in July, and we just said, hey, you know, we're with a good company, we'll take some line, we'll go use it, we'll get back to you. And it was probably about 2.5 months.
Yeah,
Man, I really, really liked it, really liked it.
What's it called?
it's called Vicious. I don't think you get the wind knots that you get with the, or I'm not experiencing the wind knots.
See, here's the dilemma we get in. We get into a dilemma because we're in the medium. So, Invisibraid's an excellent line, and if you have it, don't get rid of it. I really like it.
Right.
I've got some in backstock that's I'm not gonna just give it away. It's really good stuff, but it's also really on the high price end. So we were in kind of a predicament because for us, we've got a lot of listeners, a lot of people. I mean, if we can bring you a product that we like just as much, but it's half the money. Right now with this deal, it's half the money. I don't know how y'all's bank account looks like, but mine, half is good. Mine keep half, that's good.
Is there
That's
any way
a
you
pretty
guys can
good.
get Mahoney to
That
send
way you
us
get
some
2 pairs of shoes.
Yes, sir.
I'm not fishing on Saturday, but next week I'm going to Clearwater, Indian Rocks Beach area. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I know it's going to be on the swing of the warm-up. Is any place in particular good for catching trout?
You're gonna be on the beach side, or you're gonna be on the inside?
Jimmy Guanas on the intercoastal side. But I'm
But you're not far, that's
Third
not,
bar stool from the end.
that's not far, that's not a really far run from, St. Joseph Sound, I don't think.
It's not.
I mean, if you,
Clearwater Pass.
yeah, no, you wanna go north, go north, young man. Go to St. Joseph Sound to the islands on your right, and pick an island and go to work.
There's a load of big trout
There's a
over
lot of
on all
big
those
fish.
islands. You know, we're talking about those islands. As soon as you go under the Dunedin Causeway,
Yeah.
Jimmy Halbert.
as soon as you get down, there's about 5 or 6 islands in a row on the right-hand side as you're going north. Every one of those.
Pick
And
an island and go to work.
I think all those cuts are pretty much on the north sides of the island too, aren't
I
they?
like the higher tides there, because a lot of those islands will have rocks on them, and them rocks heat up really nice. If you got a nice sunny day, and them fish will slide right up them rocks and just warm up. It's a great fishery, really. Although, for the first time ever, I mean, usually I would tell you, if you want to catch a really, really, really big trout on the west coast of Florida, St. Joseph Sound is where you should be. Well, I don't know, Tampa Bay, I'm telling you.
Tampa
it's
Bay's
been
rocking right now.
Ridiculous. The best trout fishing I've ever seen for size-wise. I'm not catching any numbers. I mean, 14 fish, 15 fish is a really good 4-hour charter, but I'm targeting big fish. But on the days when I go looking for this, you know, when we used to cruise down a shoreline with the trolling motor on and pick up 35 just throwing a jig, you know, when they're all 14 inches, I ain't found them. I don't know where them guys are. But maybe all them big fish ate them. Yeah, I don't know.
Are you finding them up the creeks and rivers as well, or not so much?
I am not. I haven't been up the creeks
Yeah,
and
I was
rivers.
gonna say,
All my fish are out. I will tell you this, the very best shoreline I have, if I was fishing a tournament, where I would go, I got 3 things. I've got grass, patches, big grass patches where they can get off and hide at low water. I've got a lot of sand, and I've got oyster bars. And on high tide, they're sitting between the grass and the oyster bars. I mean, schools of 10 or 15 fish in the schools. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. I've never seen them do it before, and I've never seen them stay this long. I mean, they're just there.
They're happy.
As long as you get on the shoreline real easy on your trolling motor, and even when you see them, they kind of push off, and I'm like, spooked them. We sit, pitch some baits out, and pretty soon the brothers eat. It's really cool. I mean, it's been fantastic. I mean, I haven't been on the water in a couple of days because of the weather, but good Lord willing, that's where I'll be tomorrow morning. We'll need it. We need a snowmobile suit. Yes, sir.
All right, so you said Weed Island's real good at Fort DeSoto. If you were going,
If I was going, I'd go to where I'm fishing all the time, which is Fort DeSoto. There's no doubt.
There's a lot of big
There's
fish.
a lot of big fish. We've gotten a big push of big mullet. Talking to Jamie Goodwin, who
Quality fishing.
is as good as there is. Jamie said he saw fish mixed in with a new arrival of mullet like he's never seen before. And Jamie's probably the only guy I know of, maybe probably Al DePeric as well, that can drive over a school of mullet in his tower boat and tell you how many trout are in it. He's that good visually to see the difference and know that those trout are in that school. So, and he said there's a new school of mullet and there's trout and redfish mixed in with them like he's never seen before. And it's not very far from the shoreline that I'm going to be fishing tomorrow. So I will be finding those fish, hopefully.
And where would that be?
Fortunately.
I'll be right there with you.
Come on back. I'll make room for you.
All right,
Will
sweet.
it be between the last channel?
He stayed in the channel. Eagle and flag.
He didn't want to give away the power pole. Oh, yeah, that's good.
He's thinking about doubling
Ford
down on that
is
power pole.
I got you in the ballpark. I mean, you're in the ballpark. You have a ticket to the dance.
How deep is the water you're fishing in?
Actually, there's a trough there. One thing you want to remember, really important. 3 things they need. They're going to need a food source, they're going to need an escape route, and they need an ambush point. Period. All your fish, wherever you find them, they're going to have those 3 things, whether it's snook, redfish, trout, whatever it is. Those 3 things are going to be in that vicinity somewhere. So I'm actually fishing fairly shallow, but if you look at where I'm fishing, there's a trough, and not a very deep trough. It only goes to about 3 or 4 feet.
Yeah,
but
trough
very
would be 6
nearby.
inches.
You got to remember, we're just coming out of winter, and those fish have been there for about a month, month and a half. On those really, really low, full, and new moon tides, they've got to have someplace safe to drop off. So they're not going to be, up totally skinny where it's skinny for 700 yards. They're just not going to be. Your tides are changing too fast. They're always going to be near some kind of depth. And what you should do every time you catch a fish like that, instead of getting all excited and getting carried away and losing your mind, take a breath, get your photo, release it, do your high fives, and then take a minute to analyze everything that just happened. Why was he there? Where did he come from? Where does he go on low water? What's making this spot better than, how come they're on this side of the island and never on the other side of the island? What's on the other side of the island that's not here? You know what I mean? Really break those spots down. The stupid, fish log. Keep
That's the
a
best
fish
tool
log.
you'll ever have.
Write it all down. Every little, even if you fished all day and didn't see nothing, write it down.
'Cause you can't
Terrible day
remember
of
it all.
fishing next year on 14 March, do not go fishing. Whatever you have to do, just write it all down so you have it. Yes, sir.
I just lost a book that I had from fishing dates that I kept because I read about it in an old Field and Stream magazine. And it had fishing times from the 50s and 60s in it.
Oh, man.
Stories of the fish that I caught, temperatures, what the day was like and all. And to
Billy's
this
got it.
day, I rue the day that I lost that, but you know what? Some of you younger guys, you'll rue the day that you didn't write down anything that occurred, because one day you're going to be sitting here older and get an opportunity to read about what you did 40 or 50 years
Because you
ago.
forgot a lot of it, There's no way you can retain, because
I
I mean,
can remember some of it, but I
Yeah.
damn sure can't put it all on paper again.
no. Because I know a lot of times, I'll be sitting there and I'm trying to get something going, can't get it going. I'm sitting there racking my brain, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, but just that, writing the stuff down. Michael even took it a step farther. He was even do you still do that, keep a bait log?
Bait moves around. You should have a bait
He
log
keeps a
and a
bait
fish
log
log.
and a fish log.
Listen. I'm just an old farm kid from Wisconsin. We know I ain't all that bright. I ain't gonna remember it. Gotta write it down. Trust me, my wife will tell you I can forget it real quick. So I gotta write it down. But it saved me more than once. I mean, for a guy like me who, I keep my boat at O'Neill's. So even though I cut my teeth, I live in Riverview, so the Alafai, downtown, Apollo Beach, all this stuff, I know it really well. It's been so long since I fished here. If I had to run a group trip out of here this week sometime, that log is invaluable. It's really helped me at Wheaton Island, because I never spent a consistent amount of time on the water over there. You know, some guys just go a whole year and that's, oh, I just fished Weeden Island. Well, they get to know it pretty good. You know, I fish there 5 or 6 times a year. But because I've been doing it now, I'm going into my 13th year, and I've been keeping the fish log, I usually have a couple of tricks up my sleeve. Now, you know, I probably don't know the greatest spots over there, like guys who fish it every day.
You got some
But I got enough meat that I can pull together a charter for a guy who's, you know, paying to get on my boat.
You got some pretty good ones, because I gave them to you and I stole them from Mahoney.
But I mean, you know what I'm saying? So the fish log saves me all the time. Saves me all the time.
You got any logs from Soldier's Hole?
What's that?
You got any logs from Soldier's Hole? Anything good? You like Soldier's Hole?
What is Soldier's Hole?
Soldier, out there, Fort Soldier.
I don't even know.
Backside. You don't know where it is?
I don't know. I probably do. I probably fish
Don't
it.
worry,
I just
there's no
don't know
fish
that.
there anyway.
I don't know that it's called Soldier's Hole.
That's
Are you
the great
talking
thing
about the big
Tinker
ball
Bay.
hole?
There's 10 names for one
Every
hole.
spot.
It's as a child, I always heard it called the horseshoe because it's a sandbar that does like this, but it's how can I describe it?
Shh, let's be quiet, y'all, because I want to hear good details about this.
Yeah,
Does it have the 6-foot holes in it? Does it have the 6-foot holes in it? Lots of them?
actually, there's a 17-foot hole, and most of it's about 10, 11.
No, there's no fish there.
Yeah,
Well, there's two group.
there's grouper in there.
Is that near one of the bridges?
No, it's over by the fort,
Oh, okay, over by the fort itself.
but on the inside.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I know where it is.
Yeah, now we fished there as a kid. I fished there all the time with my father. We caught some big trout.
Say what, with this cold weather we've had, there may be some hunkered down in that thing.
Last
that works
weekend there
anyway.
was nothing there. We had
Nothing there last week?
Well, it's
Shrimp,
been really warm.
white bait.
Yeah, they may have slid back in there though, bro.
A lot of the holes that traditionally hold fish, you know, a lot of my spots, Boca Ciega, I've got some stuff that's really, really good when it's really, really cold for an extended period of time. I haven't spent hardly any time at Boca Ciega at all.
See, that's what I was thinking. It was cold last weekend, and I was thinking the holes.
It just wasn't cold long enough.
It was
A lot of times it's colder way before March, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're cold in December, January, that pushes all them fish in them spots and they'll hang. This year, I mean, it was so warm in, you know, January that,
Yeah,
you know, you're running trips in t-shirts and shorts.
yeah.
It's
You're
great.
duck hunting in shorts and
Yeah.
t-shirts.
It's sliding
So,
skeeters.
You know,
it's
bad.
very,
Come get that stuff.
Tonight.
well, hopefully we'll do good tomorrow. I don't know. I was kind of hoping my guys would cancel, but they want to go. So it's gonna be really cold when we catch bait tomorrow.
What time are you picking up tomorrow?
I don't pick up till 9:30, but my very good friend Jamie Goodwin wants to double team the bait at 6.
43
Well, y'all catch
degrees.
mine, I'll pick up at 9. My arthritis is acting up.
Billy, how's that offshore bite going?
Offshore bite's been real, before the front, I haven't been out since we left and went to Costa Rica, and then haven't back, I was talking to Glenn Taylor, the tuna was starting to show up, kingfish. I even heard reports of somebody catching a sail week before last off of, the beach off of, up around Tarpon Springs area.
I talked to we were across from the boys there at Hubbard Marine. They're catching African pompano.
Yeah, out there on the tabletops has had African pompano out there for a while, but the big amberjacker are here, big mangrove snapper, plenty of catch and release grouper out there, and they're a lot of fun. They are a lot of
More
fun.
trout questions? More questions in general?
Well, cool beans, y'all got it. Who's winning? Who's winning the tournament? Who's winning?
You can ask anything you want, whatever you want.
What's the slot like now over at Fort Soldier?
Well, I haven't been there, and the last group of fish that I was on didn't treat me very nice. Jamie caught 3, and I got to watch his boat catch all 3. I couldn't get them to eat. We had one on and lost them, but they were all oversized.
Yeah, I'm hearing there's some still over, even
Yeah.
though this front, they're still there.
I heard Jamie was on the warpath on Monday and found a pile of new fish, but I didn't ask him if they were slot or oversized, so I don't know. What's that?
What was the bait?
White bait. Catch them all in those sardines. Probably cut. I didn't ask him, but I'm guessing he.
Because those birds have just been absolutely freaking terrible.
The day that Jamie and I fished side by side, I ran a 2-boat trip with Jamie, and Jamie was using cut bait. That's what we caught him on, or he caught him on.
I got a steel shot, take care of that.
And when are y'all gonna do a seagull tournament?
He would win, he would win.
They'll win.
Yes, sir.
How are the reds biting now?
Well, I mean, they weren't biting for me with the dam, 'cause we didn't catch them.
Well, I got 4 today.
Did you?
Yeah, but in EG7.
Shrimp?
Don't shrimp.
I would have guessed it'd be a shrimp.
One was a keeper in the restaurant.
Little rats. See, and the last couple of years, I've had a tremendous red bite. I've got a dock line down in Fort DeSoto that if you catch it on incoming water, you know, when it's cold, I mean, you could catch 25, 30, 35 fish off it. They're all 17, 18 inches long, but on those rods, on the docks, absolutely a blast for my customers. And then,
What's really cool on those docks is you're sitting there doing those red fishing, then about a 24, 25 inch grouper decides he wants to play too.
either that or you catch a, you know, 3 or 4 pound sheephead
On dock where?
down Fort DeSoto. That's where I've been, so I mean, but it works here, I guarantee you, go to Apollo Beach, put your time in, I guarantee you there's, Little Manatee River, a great spot to catch a lot of reds this time of year.
He can get into McDill, he just doesn't want to talk about it.
I don't blame him. Yeah.
You can get it, you're my new best friend.
Yes, sir.
How much, when you're hooking cut bait with a circle hook, how much of the hook do you leave exposed?
I just hook it all the way through. When they go to eat a piece of cut, they ain't looking at it. The nibble right here, I might miss that. Buddy, when they get on a cut bait bite, and he wants it, he's gonna lump it.
He's gonna get it before his buddy eats it.
So
He's gonna suck it to his belly
It's
button.
pretty well,
I just put it right through, especially at that thin point where I go all the way through. Just layer up in there.
I think he's asking how far in the bait are you going, Michael? Is that what you're asking, how far up the bait you go to hook it?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right, my bad. Well, I mean, you know, you wanna get in there a little ways, get in there so it's secure.
You don't wanna throw it to where it falls off.
Leave it exposed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When I go to a jig head, which sometimes I've done in the past just because, A, I gotta make a real long cast because they're spooky as hell, and B, I needed to sink because the birds are driving me nuts, I just grab anything. Could be a chartreuse jig head. It don't matter. They're not, again, once they get on that bite, when they're eating chunk on the bottom, I mean, look what we did with Berkeley Gulp for years. Take a 4-inch Berkeley Gulp shrimp, pitch it out in front of the school, wait for them to swim over it. When you feel them eat it, real. And there's no, when they get on that scent bite, they're just eating. You know what I mean? It's just ferocious and fun and all those good things. I will tell you this, you want a key to catching more fish this time of year? Good secret, don't overdo your leader. Your water's gonna be very, very clean, very clean. I promise you, no one in this room is gonna catch a 15-pound trout. So if you used 15-pound fluorocarbon leader, you'll have plenty. And you're gonna be in super clean water. So go with as light a tackle as you can possibly go. Because again, if he's up skinny, he's really smart. You've gotta trick that big female in the eat. Got to. So go down to a 15-pound leader, 20 for sure. Yes, sir.
If we were fishing, say up like Little Manatee and fishing a dock and using cut bait, would you just fish that on the bottom also, even if you were in 5, 6, 7 feet of water?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Whenever I'm fishing a dock, I want to be on the bottom, even if I'm fishing a jig.
Okay.
I make sure one of the biggest mistakes people make when they fish a dock, they pitch it up under the dock, they make a great cast, and the first thing they do is close the belly. If that jig just drops and slowly pulls itself right out from where you want to be. As soon as I pitch it up underneath there, I let a little line out. Don't even close your bill, because I want it to sink right there where it went. If I made a good cast. And you've got to be on the bottom. That's where them fish are going to be. Good group, great question.
Somebody else?
Yes, we are.
Mr. Stafford.
I was a trip to Costa Rica.
Trip to Costa Rica was off the charts. I went into Costa Rica weighing 218 pounds. I came out weighing 223.
I was gonna ask you when you were.
I thought, man, I'm sweating bullets, bro. It's hot. I'm not eating during the day because very rarely do I eat on the water, but the food, we came back one day and the chef, he had taken and grilled up these big Costa Rican shrimp, put them on a soft tortilla shell, grated up some cabbage, and put pineapple, mango, mandarin orange, and coconut, and then put like this crazy sauce on top of it. It had shrimp tacos, and then had sashimi 25 different ways from Sunday, fresh lobster.
What's the general cost to that?
I think we carried everybody down there for about $2,500 a person.
Our guys, actually, this trip, because it's February and it was prime season, I've done trips before in December where you could go for $2,500 a person. When you go prime season like that, it costs you about $3 grand plus airfare. But that was everything. That was your in-country travel,
everything.
booze, liquor, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And what you got to remember that's kind of cool about Costa Rica, where we go, is there is nothing. They don't run up to the Publix and pick up their bread. They got to bake it all there. So you're getting fresh bread. The pineapple is the silliest thing I've ever eaten in my entire life. It's crazy. My man's over there going, yes, it is.
Hey,
I'm
you bite
tearing
into a piece like this big, juice runs all
It's
down your chin. I mean, just a little
unbelievable.
cube. It just
And it's
like
all that
grows.
volcanic soil. I mean, Rodney's back there going, send me. I'd be big as 3
You gotta
houses.
go next time.
I mean, that's how it is. It's absolutely unbelievable. And everything, because, you know, the mango and everything they put on there is all homegrown. It's just,
It's all fresh out of the
So
garden
fresh
that
and
day, or it
delicious.
was
It's
swimming in the water 6 hours before it got put on the plate.
A doc on that, I'm really interested.
Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Well,
We're going next
we're going next February, and I will have the date within the next 2 weeks or so. And it'll be up on the website, we'll start pushing it. And the nice, Zancudo, we can only take like 19 people.
Yeah, it's a
That's
really
it.
cool place.
That can go with us, so.
Zancudo.
Zancudo,
Yes,
Las
let me
Vegas.
know.
Southwest side?
Southwest, about 25 miles north of Panama.
Place called the Sweet Gulf?
Gulf of Dolce, is that what it is? Yeah.
I've been across
Zan-
that bay twice.
Yeah, well, it's right across from Crocodile Bay's here, and we're over here.
Only it's a lot more private, a smaller resort than Crocodile Bay.
It's a little more intimate.
Airport drops you, boom.
Right there beside the cemetery.
Yep.
Right beside the grave of pigs and chickens off the runway.
You can see
No,
Santa
but
Monica.
I heard good things about it, I'd like to do, I've been to the same place all 3
We're
times.
going back there again.
So,
Oh, nice, nice.
this guy's taking such good care of us, we're gonna keep going.
I'm talking to Redhead.
Once a week
Yeah.
on Christmas.
No, 3 years ago and 6 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Mark over.
Yeah.
Mark went with us.
And they were talking about how great a time they had.
I'll tell you what, it was really, the Costa Rican people, the Ticas really, really,
Don't know, when we were down there.
some countries, as long as you're on the resort, the
Yeah.
people that work there are really nice. All the Costa Rican people are nice. And I told my wife, so there's only 400 people, they said peak season, there's 400 people in that little village right there.
One day everybody was.
So imagine if some
sales a day.
jerk Costa Rican was in there robbing people or stealing from the Americans, they're gonna shut that down, dude. Because we spending, you know, we're dropping big cash, they're like, hey, you know, maybe they do pretend to like us, but they ain't dumb. They're like, them idiots are coming over here. Yeah, right, exactly, so.
What kind of fish are you
It's
guys
a-
catching?
Yeah, I've been to
My wife caught her first sale. Kim caught her first sale.
Yep.
I caught my first Pacific sale, which is, they're a lot bigger than the sales we get here.
I'll tell you something, it was pretty
Big
funny.
Cubera snapper
Yeah.
were caught, the Cubera snapper bite was really pretty good,
Yeah, my
actually.
wife Kimberly caught one that we ate that was